Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another Reader's Magnet featured author interview. My name is Mark, and I will be your host for this session. Joining me today is one of the Reader's Magnet featured authors that is here with us to share his journey as an author and tell us more about his book titled Apocalyptic Euphoria Part 2. We have Jeff Zimmerman. Hi, Jeff. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I can see that. I'm doing great as well, Jeff, and happy to see you today. And we are really excited to know more about this book. For our viewers there, the book is actually in our screen right now. Apocalyptic Euphoria. That's the book cover. If you're interested, please stay tuned for us to know more about this book. Now, Jeff, please introduce yourself first.
Yeah, I'm Jeff Zimmerman. I'm just an author here in the Midwest, specifically Iowa. Just turned 27 this year, actually, and I just got my last degree from DMAC over in Ankeny. And
Mhm.
yeah, I've honestly never really saw myself as an author when I was a kid, but as I've grown up, I've realized that it's actually a very rewarding field, especially if you're persistent with it. If you're very patient and persistent with authoring, it can take a lot of people, a lot of places in this world that they'd never see themselves. So I'm very happy that I've taken this path, and it
Right.
is inspiring. Yeah.
Right. I just knew that you were just 27 years old, Jeff. You're so young to be an author. Well, I mean, you don't know your path, right, as you've mentioned, but like what inspired you to be a writer, Jeff? Tell me.
Yeah. So for my two first dream jobs, especially when I was a kid, I've always wanted to
Mhm.
actually be a video game creator, and I've always wanted to be a
Mhm.
director.
Uh-huh.
Um, Specifically with gaming, I quickly learned how hard it is to code computers and just doing coding in general. It's very
Uh-huh.
frustrating and very, you have to be very patient. And it's not as math heavy as some people think. It's more of just being a good pattern recognition with the brain.
Mhm. Right.
Um, and again, just a lot of patience. And when I'm saying patience, I'm saying like your average AAA video game like Red Dead Redemption or something like that, or Grand Theft Auto. Those are 5 to 10 year projects. So
Right. Oh, wow.
only about 6 months to about a year and a half or two. Just depends on like what kind of book and all that. So I quickly figured out that in order to be a to like try and make movies and all that, I'm probably just gonna have to let someone else do that for me. And what I mean by that is like kind of like a collaboration. You have
Ooh, right.
the newest one that was it wasn't a book, but BioShock on Netflix. That one's a video game, and it's going to become a movie. So I would like to have my books basically become video games or movies later on in my life, which would be
Wow.
that'd be like one of the most inspiring things ever, because I'd actually like to be in the studio with the director or with the video game creators and the developers and actually be there with them helping make the games or the movies. It'd be very, very inspiring.
That is amazing, Jeff, because I love that how you have a vision already or a goal for your book. And I believe you already have another book that more than one, right?
Yeah.
Jeff, so can you tell me more about your books? Other
Yeah.
books, actually.
So in total, I actually have oh gosh, was it eight published books as of right now on
Wow,
it.
that's a
And
lot.
yeah, I'm gonna be publishing my ninth one hopefully by the end of this year. It's all about budget and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
I, yeah, my ninth one is actually going to be Apocalyptic Euphoria Part 3. It'll be the sequel, the final part to this one right here. And yeah, after that one, instead of doing post apocalypse, I'll actually be going back and doing medieval fantasy, which
Oh,
is
wow.
a very different for anyone who for authors who know genres and stuff. You have to really know your genre, and if you're going into a completely new genre that you haven't touched, you really have to be like you have to do a lot of research, and you have to do like
Exactly.
you have to do a lot of reading. Actually, I recommend to any future authors out there, if there's a genre that you're not familiar with, like for writing or stuff, research it heavily. Read some of the biggest great works in that genre just to kind of soak in like the actual.
Yeah, to have a reference, right?
Yeah, have a good reference point and all about all the themes and like the character arcs and just the overall feel for the story. And it's a really good way, because there are some writers who could go in blind and just do it as a just kind of winging it, if you want to say it like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those, there can be some very good ones that come out of stuff like that. I can't really think of one off the top of my head, but there's definitely been some authors out there who has never written a genre, and they'll dive straight into it without knowing that much, and then somehow they could come off with a very successful story. That's the that is the exception and not the rule. So I just wanted to put that, that is the exception and not.
Right. I heard that you mentioned you're going to publish a new book, and that's going to be the part three of this book series. Now, Jeff, let's go back with this book. Jeff, tell us, what is this series all about? Apocalyptic Euphoria. Jeff, tell us more about this one.
Yeah, so for anyone who's maybe heard of the video game series Fallout or video game series Metro, I have been heavily inspired by those books and those games.
Mm-hmm.
That's what mine is kind of like. So, you know, you have these characters who survive the nuclear bombs, and they're
Oh,
trying
okay.
to figure out what in the actual heck happened. And then once when they realize like it is literally the end of the world, you
Mm-hmm.
have rapid breakdown in society. Very rapid too. Like we're talking a few, just about a week at most. Like most of the world is breaking down after the bomb. The world's breaking down within about 7 days,
Mm-hmm.
and it really is like a very
Mm-hmm.
daunting topic to think about, especially on a serious level. Like Fallout kind of has more of a goofy approach to it, where you know you have some dark comedy kind of going on, and then
Mm-hmm.
Metro's definitely got the darker take on it, where it's more kind of grounded in reality. Or if anyone's ever seen the movie The Road, written or read the book by Cormac McCarthy, I think that was one of the most accurate and depressing depictions of an apocalypse, because of, you know, people are eating they're eating their digits off just to survive, and it is something that is daunting to think about. So, you know, when you write a book like this where you're trying to not have as much sci-fi elements and you're trying to really put it just into reality, where it's like, okay, people have guns, people have medical supplies, how long though is that going to last? And when those supplies deplete, what are they going to do to their fellow mankind? Their, you know, whether they're aunts, uncles, brothers and sisters, what are they going to do to them when those supplies deplete? Because this is a
Mm-hmm.
great people know of, but it people are only 3 days away from doing the most immoral acts they've ever thought about doing. And what I mean by that is you're only 3 days away from dehydrating. You can
Right.
go for about a 1 month or so, maybe even 2 months without food. But when it comes to water, you can only go 3 days without water before you die.
Right. Mhm. Okay, so I believe Jeff here is having an internet connection problem. But yeah, for those who are watching us right now, Jeff is the author of Apocalyptic Euphoria. And his book is all about, again, as he mentioned, inspired by the games Fallout and all other game inspiration. And it's where it's like a survival type of, uh, let's say, theme for his book. And he actually has part one and two. This is the book that we are seeing now on our screen. And Jeff is actually going or soon to publish his part three of this book series. And we are really excited for that one. I just really hope that Jeff will be back in a minute, but I think he literally lost his connection right now. So I believe Jeff will be right back in a few minutes. So maybe let me just um change my view here. Okay, there you go. Jeff is back. So let me just pull him up on our screen right now.
Yeah.
It's okay, Jeff. Don't worry about that one.
Yeah.
I just continued. If you can wipe your camera right now, Jeff. It's
I
something that's like
yeah, I know.
blocking.
I know. Trust me. This, I was using my mother's phone outside, and then you know,
Oh,
being a lovely iPhone, it decided to overheat. So now I'm using my phone, which I dropped it,
oh,
and my camera's cracked. So I apologize.
oh. It's
Yes.
okay. It's okay, Jeff. Where were you again?
Again, shoot, where were we? What was the question again? I
Yeah,
apologize.
I was like saying I actually forgot as well. But as I was saying earlier, I was telling people that the book is inspired by the books, the games Fallout, and it's survival type of themed book. And you are going to release a new book series of this, the part three of this book series, and we are really excited for that one. Now,
Yeah.
my next question, Jeff. Given that I really love how you're a gamer as well, Jeff, because for sure you have really lots of ideas and references to like to create, you have that creative mind to create a new story, and we love that for you. Given that you already have 8 books, and we are really excited for that. Now, given that you already have these books, Jeff, I wonder, what is the hardest part of writing this type of topic? I mean, the apocalyptic type of um genre.
Yeah, so that's actually a great question, and one of the things that I always think about is, at least for people who are like extremely like religious or spiritual in any regards, whether whatever denomination to or whatever branch of religion, when
Hmm.
it comes to the end times, a lot of people get really caught up in like, well, if the world's going to end, what the heck is the point of even carrying on? Like, what's the point of actually doing the day to day stuff, like doing the dish,
Right.
doing the laundry, making my food for my family, going to work, so on and so forth. A lot of people actually get stuck in those kind of mindsets where they're like, well, if the apocalypse is going to happen soon, then what the heck is the point of even trying? Like, if the bombs are going to fall, or if the meteorite hits Earth and destroys everyone, what the heck is the actual point in even trying? And a good point that I have in the book is like having faith and hope, like like in whatever it is that you may believe in, just having faith and hope in general. Because if you're a faithless, hopeless person, it is going to be extremely hard to see the lights, the silver lining in the clouds, or see the
Right.
rain at the end of the storm. So yeah, that's one of the major themes that are within my book. And even Cormac McCarthy in The Road, when he wrote that book, there's a big theme about hope and just faith, which is yeah. I actually there's a lot of I've tried to do a lot of research on Cormac McCarthy's personal religion. I couldn't really get an actual answer.
Hmm.
I think he's agnostic. I'm not actually sure though. I myself would love to interview that guy if I ever got a chance. He is a big influence on a lot of my books. So, but no, I that's one of the themes that is very important with like just apocalypse books in general, is like
Hmm.
having hope and faith and just being able to carry on even though like the world seems like it's, well, literally gone to crap. And yeah, so that's one of the biggest things that I like to talk about in the book, is just like having hope and faith, where
Right.
you have people who are like literally living off of like dead birds or dead rats in the sewers and subway tunnels and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, gosh, this really sucks. This is a really terrible life. What kind of life is this? And it's like, if you keep persistent, you survive for another 20 years. Who knows what it may look like,
Right.
instead of eating,
Right. Right. Right.
you're eating, maybe you're growing apples out the ground again after they got fried. It's just one of those like apocalypses where you're like, gosh, you never really think about how dark it could be if that actually did happen. And it's just one
Hmm.
area, especially when you get down to the science level of like, how bad radiation truly is on everything. Radiation is so poisonous that it'll kill like even
And
worms.
you're so far away, right?
Yeah, like it won't just kill all the plants, like all the plant roots that are in the soil. It'll kill worms and beneficial bugs that are like 20 feet into the bedrock, dang near, because of how
Oh,
far that's how far it can penetrate down into the ground. So like
wow.
that's why, when you have these people who have a little bit more money and they can build bunkers and all that, it's kind of funny because it's like, yes, your bunkers, it could be thousands of feet underground, but as soon as the power goes out, you pretty much just trapped yourself in a very expensive tomb.
Actually, because they can't go out anymore.
They
Right.
and even if they could go out, like, if their supplies have depleted by then, let's say they survive for 2 to 5 years or however long, when their supplies have depleted, or if they somehow do have a renewable, let's say they have an underground farm or something, it relies on power. So if that power's out, then it's pretty much like a catch 22, where it's like, okay, do I stay here and like,
Should I go out,
yeah, or
explore?
do I go out and try to like build again? And the
Hmm.
person who's relying off the bunker is most likely not going to have any sort of like hunting and surviving skills, like let's say a military veteran or something. A military veteran,
Hmm.
your more ideal person, or at least some sort of like engineer guy, or like someone who knows engineering and could do like trapping of some sort. That would be someone you'd want to have on your team. Whereas like, I don't know, your typical Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk is like, I nothing against those guys. I actually like Elon Musk personally. But like, if you had that guy on your team, it's like, yes, you're really, really intelligent, but can you actually do anything
Do something, right?
like in terms of practicality for, using, having food or being agricultural or anything like that?
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jeff, because that actually made me curious more about the ending of this book. It built us an interest of knowing more about what's the ending of this series, which is the apocalyptic euphoria. And
Mhm.
you're doing us giving us a tease of what will be the ending of this. As you mentioned, this book is like inspired by the game Fallout, and where there's a that let's say the end of the world, and then it may just makes just us wonder what is the ending of this book series. Now, Jeff, before I forget, I want to know, given that you already have 8 books or about 9 books and you're currently writing the ninth one, um have you ever experienced a writer's block, and how do you conquer that one?
Yes. So there's actually been multiple times throughout my career so far where I've actually experienced writer's block. Um, I remember when I was writing Lunatic and Lunatics, as well as Detroit and America: A Tale of Crime and Corruption, and even this one too. There'll be just brief periods and sometimes even longer periods of writer's block where you're just kind of sitting there thinking, and you're like, gosh, why does this feel like this is not the greatest it could be? Or like, why does it feel like I could be doing something better? And usually when as an author, when you're coming across those moments where you're kind of doing self-doubting or self retrospection, you're just kind of thinking,
Hmm.
what can I do to make this better? Or is this not the best version that I could be making? It's basically like it's a gut instinct, and it's an internal mechanism that's pretty much telling you that you could do better and that you should do better. So the ways that I personally come over writer's block, I mean, there's quite a few ways, and not many. Some people will like some of them, I say, and some won't. I think the big main ones is obviously dieting, exercising, getting enough sleep, like just your very common stuff that your doctor's going to tell you in order to stay healthy.
Hmm.
Get enough sleep, get enough, water, get enough hydration, make sure your diet's not trash, basically. And then make sure that you're happy with basically the other stuff, the other big stuff in your life, like you're
Right.
happy with your spouse, happy with your job, happy with where you live, so on and so forth. Because
Right.
if those things are in order, then I hate to say it, but your books are not going to be the greatest. I mean, you might have a great tragic tale. You might have like you might write a great tragedy tale where it's
I
like,
get
how my life fell apart.
I get you.
You could,
Hmm.
like, there's been a lot of authors who have written those types of books. I mean, oh, I forget his name, but the guy who cut his ear off, the Vincent Van.
Ah, is that Van Gogh? Van
Yeah.
Gogh. Yeah.
So, there's a lot of artists like that, whether authors or painters or whatever, and they'll have massive seasons of depression or other season, just a season of downtime and just not doing great. And that you can get some very inspirational works out of those downtimes when you're having a really bad time or just having writer's block. Um,
Exactly.
I would just say that if you're feeling, as an author, if you're literally feeling that on a daily basis, and this is persisting for like months on end, that's not just a case of writer's block. That's a case of a possible midlife crisis, and that's a whole nother ballpark. That's a whole nother ballpark that I'm personally not really um, licensed to really talk about in any professional meaning in that sense.
Right. 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 Right.
So yeah, I just an overcome writer's block. I just tell people, like,
Just
especially newer authors, like, make sure that your basic necessities are taken care of. Make sure
mhm.
um
Your mental health.
yeah,
Hmm.
your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, your job, so on and so forth.
Yes. So there you go, guys.
Yeah,
Listen to Jeff. If you want to have like a proper type of mindset, you need to follow those things. Good sleep, you know what I'm saying? Good food, good surroundings, environment, and things like that. And for sure, you'll be able to like think more creatively, more productively.
and
And that's actually something I can agree with, Chef.
this
That applies to everything, right?
Yeah, this was something else I had actually learned from someone at my gym too. This guy is he's a shoe salesman of all people, and some
Hmm.
people might laugh it off like, oh, just a shoe salesman, but no, he's actually a really good shoe salesman. And he made a great point too, which is like, think about how much time you spend in your day, like sitting in your chair. If you're an office worker, that's
Hmm.
about a third. That's a third of your day. That's literally 8 hours out of 24. And another
Hmm.
third of your day is what, sleeping in bed. So
Hmm.
let's say you have a really poor chair or a really poor bed. That's 2/3 of your day that you're spending in really poor quality materials, whether a really
Right.
terrible office chair or a
Right.
really terrible bed that's not making you get good sleep. The last third of your day is spent in usually shoes, or sometimes not shoes if you're just around the house. But so that's basically my recommendation is make sure you have a good pair of shoes that are comfortable, have a really good bed that you can sleep in that's comfortable, and have a really, really good office chair that's comfortable because again, working in your office chair for 8
You're
hours.
spending most of your yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
you might want to make sure that you have a cushy cushion. Otherwise, you might have to go to the chiropractor later on in life where he's doing on your neck and
Right. Right. Anyway, I'm really enjoying our topic today, Jeff. I'm really enjoying the things that we're discussing right now. I'm afraid we have to end this one because we have reached the time limit. But I do have one more question, Jeff. Given that you already have like 9 or 8 books, um, have you encountered any criticisms and how do you like deal with those type of comments?
I actually prefer it when people do criticize me, especially when it's in an actual constructive way. If someone has
Mm-hmm.
legitimately like, especially when because I've actually had a couple flaws pointed out to me where I actually laughed at them, not at the person. I laughed at the flaw that they're pointing out, and I was like, oh my god,
Right.
that's such a big like apparent flaw. I don't know how the heck I didn't realize that. And they're
Right.
like, thought I'd point that out. And so that's one way to basically take especially constructive criticism is like laugh with the person where you're like, oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. I never
I
really thought.
agree with you. Like
Yeah,
that. Just
that's
take
true.
it positively, right, Jeff?
Yes, and if someone is just coming at you in just a pure negative form, and I have had those before, where they're
Just pure
basically
hate, right?
yeah, they're basically just referring to ad hominems or just literally, I don't know, tearing down the product just to, I don't know if it's to make themselves feel better or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
But when I've had those moments, and I have actually had them in person at like local vendor events where like I have my own table, kind of like a Comic-Con thing.
Mm-hmm.
For those people, I basically just have to look in the eye and say, "I'm sorry that you feel that way." And the hardest part actually is to reserve my smile, where I'm trying to like not smile because like some people will like you can just tell that they're having a really really bad day, and I guess you just happen to be the one person they wanted to explode on. And the hardest part is to basically just not laugh at that person because if you laugh at the person who's already mad, that could actually result into like
Not a good idea. Right, right, right.
where it's just like, oh my gosh, this guy is attacking me, yada yada. But no, I haven't had anything like that, like in any sort of physical altercation. I've just had people like explode on me. Were like, wow, this book is really stupid looking and all that, and I'm just like, well, I'm sorry you feel that way, but thank you for letting me know anyhow.
Right. Just acknowledge, right?
Yeah, no, and honestly, just having a good sense of humor and just like having a
Mm-hmm.
really good cheery attitude. It's hard to get mad at a person who keeps laughing unless you're just that angry of a person. So yeah, just taking criticism
That's
with like
good.
a really good serious, like if it's constructive criticism, take it seriously and just kind of and actively change change the flaw in your book to make it so that's not the flaw anymore. Um,
Mm-hmm. Right.
yeah, and I mean, again, I really do enjoy it when people actually do have like legitimate pieces of constructive criticism where I'm like, or even just like future tips. There's actually I've had a good amount of future tips to me where it's like, hey, if you're trying to do this, maybe try this just for the next time. And it's like, dang, okay, I've actually never thought of it like that. And one of them is
Mm-hmm.
so good that I legitimately cannot share it with anyone because it's almost like a trade secret type thing where it's
It's a
like
it's a it's a trick, a hack.
Yes, yeah, like literal life hack where it's like, whoa, and it's specifically with like advertising and marketing where it's like, it's one of those mind blowing things where you're like, okay, I'll give you a hint. It has to do. I will say that it has to deal with AI. So,
Mhm.
AI is actually very helpful in lots of way when it comes to marketing.
Exactly. If you just know how to utilize it properly, it
Yes,
is helpful.
yes. There's especially with like if you have a friend who's really good with programming or any sort of coding or making apps like phone apps and all that. Though I heavily recommend authors to have at least one friend who's a very good programmer or really good with computers in general, because they can help you in ways that I mean, just basically like you're only down here at a level 1, and then they can
Mhm.
go up to like a level 10 in terms of like sales and reviews and just overall like how much people know your name and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just that was kind of like my little life hack if you want to and think of it like that for authoring. If you're an
Right,
author
right, right.
and you have a programmer friend, make sure you are friends with them for life, and never ever burn that bridge, because that is one bridge you do not want to burn ever.
Exactly. Right, 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 right. All
people with
right.
people with computer skills are very handy dandy. Like if anyone's ever played the game Watch Dogs, they know exactly what I'm talking about. They are very handy dandy.
That's a familiar movie, huh?
It,
I think I've seen it before. Right.
yeah,
Anyway, Jeff, thank you so much for all the inputs you've shared us
yeah,
today and for that hack that you shared to us. Now, I just want to give a shout out to our audience or viewers right now. Hi, Marie J. Phillips. Thank you for watching our session today. I hope you're enjoying our session today, but unfortunately, we have come to the end of the session. Now, anyway, Jeff, kindly show your book on camera for the last time and tell us how or where to buy a copy of this book.
yes. So again, you guys can find my book at Amazon. Just go to my author link, Jeff Zimmerman, on Amazon.com,
There you
and
go.
find my author page right here with all 8 of my books, and including part 1. And at the end of this year, there should actually be part 3 for Apocalyptic Euphoria out as well. So
Hmm.
yeah, again, just go to Jeff Zimmerman on my Amazon page, and you will find it from there. I have all 8 of my,
Hmm.
and yeah, I really honestly I can't wait to do another one of these interviews. Actually, when I have part 3 out, that's probably when I'll do the next one. Probably closer to
Probably.
December or January, probably right around there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right. And we are excited for that, Jeff. Thank you so much for your time here with us, Jeff. We really enjoyed our topic and knowing more about your book, Apocalyptic Euphoria. Again, as we always say here at Readers Magnet, Jeff, we share your story with the world. Goodbye, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Yes. Take it easy.